great to be with you and see lots of familiar faces. A few of you I don't know, but great to be here. Just got a little bit of a limp at the moment, something that came on last night, so hobbling around. Just thought I would say a few words to introduce our series on Psalm 119. I wonder if you've got a Bible, if we just turn to it, just have a glance there. So page 459. And the first thing, just to say a few things. The first very obvious thing, if you glance through, you'll notice it's very long. So that's the first thing. It's by far the longest psalm. If you glance through, it takes, I think, about something like 4 pages. The longest chapter in the Bible. That means it's very important, it's significant, it's not something we should just skim over. The second thing you'll see that is different is that it's an acrostic, which means that each section of 8 verses begins with a letter of the Hebrew Bible. So verses 1 to 8, so you can see there, each verse begins with the Hebrew letter Aleph, you can see on the screen. The first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So the writer here is a really skillful artist with his language. The third thing to notice is that the psalmist is completely taken up with God's word. And throughout the psalm, he uses 8 different terms for God's word. Almost every verse in the psalm, all 176 verses, contain one of these words. They each have their own nuance, but actually in many ways that they can be generalized. They're often interchangeable, so we'll explore those as we go through. But rather than just talking about God's word or preaching a sermon, notice importantly, if you look in verse 4, we find that this is someone praying. This whole psalm is a prayer, talking to God, expressing his longings and desires and fears. And so we see a believer here experiencing all the ups and downs of life, very authentic experience full of struggles, fears, enemies, and longing, and crying out to God in many bits. And so why did he write this? Well, the purpose of the psalm, purpose of this great psalm, is to stir in us a greater love and delight in God's word, even in the midst of all the challenges of real life. I love the way Christopher Ash has written on this. I love the way he puts it. He says, as preacher, my task in opening this psalm is to be like a singing teacher rather than a biology teacher. So it's not a psalm so much to be analyzed and dissected as you might do in a biology class, but my task is more to be like a singing teacher, to help us all individually as believers to be able to sing this psalm ourselves, to pray this psalm ourselves from the heart. So today we're going to be looking at the first 2 letters, Aleph and Bet. You'll notice actually the Hebrew alphabet is where the Greek alphabet comes from. Greek alphabet, alpha, beta, gamma, delta. You can see by looking here that that's come from the Hebrew alphabet. So Aleph is the first letter. I wonder if we can all say that together. Should we say Aleph? Aleph. Great. It's actually where our letter A comes from. The second letter is Bet. Should we say that together? Bet. You may know this one from Bethlehem. Can anyone think what that reminds us of? Bethlehem? Bethlehem. Yes, Bet means house. Lechem is bread. So house of bread, that's where Jesus was born. So those are the first 2 letters, and we're going to hear the psalm, the first part of the psalm in a few moments. But before that, we're going to sing. And again, it's a prayer that the Lord would speak to us and write his word deep down in our hearts. So let's stand and sing.